Hello everyone, and welcome to Global Connection and Wellbeing Online's final webinar of the 2016-2017 school year, Fitness Anywhere. I'd like to first off welcome anyone back who came and watched our previous webinars. We've had the Train Smart, 7 Principles of Movement, Shop for Real Food, and just this semester we had Kettlebells 101. If you were able to join us for those, thank you, and thank you for coming to this one. First off, we kind of want to go over the itinerary of what we're going to be doing today. We'll have some brief introductions. We're going to talk about what Fitness Anywhere is, the why and the methodology behind it. We'll talk about the workout formats, and we'll get more into that here in a little bit, what those are. We'll have a review at the end of all the workout formats. We'll have conclusions at the end of just kind of review of everything all together, and then questions at the end. With that said, when we're going through this, since we will have 3 different methodologies that we're talking about, and you may have questions for each one, instead of asking questions right after we talk about a certain exercise format type, just write your questions down and we'll answer those at the end, and that way we can flow through this really easily. We kind of have a delay for when questions come in, so that will just make everything a little bit more copacetic. So, first off, if you haven't been to one of our webinars before, my name is Ramon Sodano. I'm the coordinator for fitness services and education here at University Recreation. That's here at our Pullman campus. My background is I have my bachelor's in kinesiology, master's in sport management. I've been a strength conditioning coach, speed coach, personal trainer since 2006. And yeah, I mean, I just love this field. I've been in it for a long time, and I'm finally happy I get to kind of give these. I'd like to introduce Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the fitness intern here at the Rec Center. I have been personal training, CrossFit coaching, strength and conditioning coaching for like the last 2-3 years now. I'm almost done with my degree. I'm done at the end of May, so I'm almost out of here. This is my last webinar with you guys.
So yeah, it's actually kind of sad now leaving. She's done a really, really good job for us. She actually started as a weight room. You started as a weight room attendant, right? Mm-hmm. So she started like at our lowest position and worked her way up all the way to being an intern with us. Okay, so to shift gears into what we're talking about today, I'm going to try to make this not super long. I want you guys to be able to get as much understanding of what we're talking about as in a small amount of time as possible, but I tend to drag on here and there. So first, why are we talking about Fitness Anywhere, the why? Well, first off, you all asked for it. Everyone, when we took surveys, they want to know about what they could do if they had limited time to be able to create a workout, or how they could deal or produce a workout to have some sort of benefits in a small amount of time, if they didn't have a gym membership, if they were traveling, if they're in the office and just want to get something done. That's kind of why we're doing this. We put together 3 styles of workouts to be able to help benefit you all with those circumstances. So the methodology that we're going to be doing is we're going to show you all 3 different styles of workouts that can be done in a small amount of time. Not workouts, but workout formats or methodologies. And again, we'll kind of touch on each one of these as we go along. But the real important thing to take away from today is not necessarily each exercise that we gave you in one of the formats or one of the methodologies. It's more of how the methodology works, or how that format of exercise works, because you can implement and change and prod and just it's very modifiable with what we're doing. So if we're doing Tabata squats, you can do Tabatas with any exercise in the world. And again, we'll talk about that more when we're there, but just know the most important takeaway from today is understanding how to put together these methodologies, because then really the sky's the limit for you all, because you can do whatever you want with them in the amount of time that you have. And if you know exercises or you look up exercises, you can implement those in any of these methodologies. That's another reason, one of the whys of why we chose to do it in this format. I know we have like a little gym kind of format set up in here, but we are literally showing every exercise that we're doing today. You do not need any equipment, so it literally can be done anywhere, in the hotel room, in the office, when you're at the in-laws or anything like that. It can be done absolutely anywhere. The only thing that you might need, or that you're definitely going to need with our workouts, is a towel, okay? And that's not for sweat, it's actually for use. So the methodologies we're going to use, and maybe you have heard about them before, they're really all kind of based on this high intensity interval training or this metabolic conditioning. So we're really trying to work you at your anaerobic threshold, where you're working very, very hard, getting that really high heart rate for a small amount of time, and then you have a period of rest. And then you get that heart rate up real high again, and then you have a period of rest. So each one of the methodologies we'll talk about today kind of takes into consideration this interval style of training and or circuit training. So we're really trying to have you work at this anaerobic threshold without tipping over into an aerobic kind of conditioning, okay? The reason for that is it's been shown that by doing this anaerobic threshold or this metabolic conditioning training that you get the most bang for your buck. So if I train this way, it directly correlates to my aerobic fitness. However, if I was training in an aerobic conditioning format, that's not gonna really transition to my anaerobic fitness. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here in a very small amount of time. I don't want to get too sciencey on everyone right now, but there's this thing that we always talk about that's called VO2 max. VO2 max is the ability that a human being is able to obtain and utilize oxygen at a cellular level. This style of training will help increase how well you are to utilize oxygen at that level, okay? So that's why this anaerobic training, which doesn't call on certain energy systems, will also increase your aerobic capacity at the same time. It also has an extreme caloric output. So it's a simple way to think about it is you could do 4 to 5 minutes of what we're going to talk about today and push really hard through it and get the same benefit as you would go on a Stairmaster moderately for 30, 45 minutes. So you're really banging out a lot of work in a small amount of time and still getting the same kind of expenditure. Is there anything that you want to add with kind of our methodologies and what we're doing besides what they are, kind of what it falls in with interval training?
Not really.
Okay, cool. Again, if there's questions with that, write those down now and we'll talk about that at the end. So the 3 styles or the 3 methodologies that we're going to use today, one is called an EMOM, so that's going to be every minute on the minute. Another is called Tabata, that's a certain type of interval training. And then at the very end, we're just going to go into a basic circuit training, a metabolic circuit, okay? And with that, we'll put it this way too. With each one, so with our EMOM trainings, we'll have 2 separate EMOMs for you to do. With our Tabatas, we'll have 3 separate Tabatas for you to do, and we'll have 1 metabolic circuit. And again, these are all extremely modifiable, so you can literally put in a different exercise in your Tabata or a different exercise in your metabolic circuit, and it will still work for you. With all that, I'm going to turn it over to Natalie. She's a pro at these EMOM trainings. She's much better than I am. They're pretty difficult. She's going to explain kind of the philosophy behind them and how they work.
Alrighty, so EMOM, so it's just an acronym for every minute on the minute. So what you're doing is you're doing the sets of work for each movement within the minute. So here we have, let's just take example EMOM 1. You're doing all these reps within the minute, and then you get whatever time you have left within that minute to rest before the next top of the minute, and then you're going again, and then you're resting until the next. These are set, we made these to be about 10 minutes long. If you want to make them shorter to start out a little bit easier and then progressively make them longer, by all means do so. Tailor it to where it'll be challenging for you, but also you're completing it successfully. And then Tabatas.
Oh, no, we'll stick here and then talk through each one when we get to them.
Okay, cool. So EMOM number 1 is we're doing each leg of towel mountain climbers. Then you're going to do 8 push-ups, 8 body saws with a towel, and then 5 pike push-ups. You're doing all of this within the first minute, and if you do that within maybe 30 seconds, then you get that 30 seconds rest. So it just depends on how fast you go through these movements, depending on and then depends on how much rest you get at the end. And then once you rest for the entire minute, then you start at the top of the next minute and then go through it again. EMOM 2 is the same concept as EMOM 1, but just different movements. You're doing 4 each leg of reverse towel lunges, 4 each leg of lateral towel lunges, 4 each leg of plank wipers with a towel, and then 4 posterior planks to L-sits. And again, you're just doing all of these movements, and then whatever time you have left within that minute, you're resting until the top of the next minute.
Okay, so I'm going to go over EMOM number 1. So we're on carpet, so towels don't really work too well on carpet. We have a little mechanism called valve slides that we'll use. These are about 20 or 30 bucks. Again, they're called valve slides. If you ever want to get a pair of them, they're really nice because you can do all these exercises on carpet. Usually you would use a towel like this. You could do it like on the linoleum floor, your kitchen floor, or anything like that. So to kind of emphasize again what Natalie was saying with regard to the EMOM is we have a 10-minute running clock. okay? So if we have a 10-minute EMOM, that means I'm gonna complete the 4 exercises in my EMOM set, and if I get all those done within 40 seconds, then I have 20 seconds of rest until the next minute starts. When the next minute starts, I'll do them all over again, and I'll keep doing that for a 10-minute time period. What will happen is you're gonna start getting more and more tired, and it's gonna get a lot harder, so you may get 30 seconds of rest at the very beginning, but when you're on the 6th minute, you're only getting like 10 seconds of rest, and you gotta go again. So it really starts building that heart rate up and getting pretty hard. So what we will do first, and we sent out the sheet, correct? So we created a sheet for you guys to show a brief explanation of the movements, and then give you links to what each one of the exercises is. So if you want to follow along with that, we put them together for you, and we are going to really break each exercise down and just talk about the form and kind of some common faults with it. Then we will go through like an EMOM set or 2, so you get a feel of how it's supposed to look and what it's supposed to be like, okay? So the first exercise we got, I believe, is towel mountain climbers. So again, if you're doing this at home and you don't have the valve slides, you're putting your feet on towels when we do this. When we're doing this, we're trying to be as consistent as possible with minimal amount of rest in between each exercise. So I'm going to try to go from towel mountain climbers to 8 push-ups to 8 body saws to 5 pike push-ups, one right after another. So one at a time right now, we will talk about towel mountain climbers. I'll actually turn to the side so you all can see this a little bit better. So when I'm doing my towel mountain climbers, again, my feet would be on towels or some sort of valve slide. And I'm going to get into a push-up position. I know we all know what mountain climbers are, but there's some common faults that have happened. So I come to my push-up position, my back is nice and flat, we don't want to see this hanging down, and we don't want to see the butt all high up in the air. I'm really nice and bridged, and my abs are nice and tight, really supporting that lumbar spine. We're simply just going to bring one knee up and bring the other back as we go back and forth. This is our mountain climber, okay? We want to make sure as we do this that the integrity of the spine, everything stays nice and flat, and that we're not kind of all over the place. We're sturdy, and it's here, okay? I believe we have 8 on each side when we do that, okay? So if I was doing 8 mountain climbers on each side, it's 1, 2, 3. Well, each one counts, so it's 16 if I was counting like that. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 for 16 total, or 8 on each side. After finishing those 8, I'm going to go into push-ups, and it's just simple push-ups, okay? There's nothing happening with the valve slides or the towels. It's just much more simple to keep your feet on them. So I'd be here in my mountain climbers, and all of a sudden I'm going to stop, and I go to my push-ups, okay? With our push-up form, a lot of people have this tendency to put their hands out real wide. We don't want to do that. It's going to put a lot of stress on our shoulder and our pec. So we're going to keep our hands just right outside our shoulders, if not underneath our shoulders, but just for now, for right outside. Again, nice straight back. I am bridged. I'm tight in the abs. I'm going to push up to where my nose or chest touches the ground, push myself back up. Okay? If you want to do a very, very good push-up, you want to think, now when you're pushing yourself up off the ground, you're turning your hands like you're opening a door, okay? So that's going to have your scapula naturally glide in its pattern. So as I push up, I'm literally thinking about turning my hands to the outside like this, like I'm turning them into the ground. That's why they made those push-up handles, okay? They call it the perfect push-up. Common faults with our push-ups is, the butt real high in the air doing push-up, or arching at the back, coming here, or we're seeing kind of this, right? We want to be one unit rising, okay? It's like there's a pull from the top of the body all the way to the bottom where it's just up and down, nice and sturdy. If it is too difficult for you to do the basic push-up, go to your knees, okay? Usually I would not tell you to drop to your knees because that disengages the core. I'd have you elevate, but for the sake of a circuit and keeping it flowing, and we're going to be on the valve slides anyway, just drop to your knees at that standpoint, okay? Is there anything I'm missing with a push-up?
If you don't want to just do it from your knees, a good regression from that, or progression, would be to come down in a full push-up and then push up off your knee, bring up your knees, come down, put your knees down, and then press up.
That's actually a really good point. So what's happening right there is she's building the eccentric strength from the way down, and that's going to help her be able to learn to develop that concentric push to be able to do that correctly. So that's actually a great, that's awesome. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have the mountain climbers, 8 on each side. Then we have 8 push-ups, okay? After the 8 push-ups, you have one of my favorite exercises, and they're called body saws. Okay? And this, now we'll be utilizing the towels and or valve slides again. I'm not like a valve slide rep or anything like that, but I really like them, so I just suggest to buy them. So, let's say I get 7, 8, I'm gonna go down into a plank, and these are called body saws, and they're very difficult, okay? In my plank position, I'm going to push myself back, keeping the integrity of my spine, pull myself forward. If this is the only motion you can do right now, that's fine, because we don't want you going back and then having this arch at the back happen. You will only go back as far as you can while keeping the integrity of the spine and making sure it's nice and tight, okay? So the better you get, the farther you can go back, okay? So the main regression with those is just go less of a distance, okay? So we got, I don't know if I can really explain body saws more than that. Essentially, you're just in a plank position, you're pushing yourself backwards and then pulling yourself forward. It is an awesome exercise. It really, really gets the core. After the body saws, what we'll do is we'll go back up into a plank up position or a push-up position. I'm going to step off, and I'm going to go up into this pike position, okay? And all I'm going to do at this point is do pike push-ups. If you want to make it harder, you can put the feet together, because then you have less base of support. So this is more for our shoulders. So we're coming down at an angle and trying to tap our forehead to the ground. I actually don't, do you have anything else with pike push-ups? I don't do pike push-ups that often.
You can walk your hands a little bit closer to your feet to make them a little bit harder.
Yeah, so if you want to come all the way up here, it's much harder.
You're targeting more of your shoulders at that point.
And yeah, they can be pretty hard. So then we have, and that's why we have 5 of those, because they're actually pretty difficult. It's calling on a much smaller muscle to be, and less muscles to do that movement. So what we're going to do, and if you want to grab some towels and join along, we're going to go through like an EMOM set and a half, and I'm going to have Natalie time me, and I'm going to do all the exercises. So how I'm going to do this is she's going to give me a 3, 2, 1 go, and imagine I have a 10-minute running clock, okay? I'm going to do my 8 mountain climbers on each side, 8 push-ups, 8 body saws, and 5 pike push-ups. And then when I'm done, she's going to tell me how much time I have left to rest, okay? I just worked out, so awesome, guys. Thanks for this.
Whose fault is that?
Okay. Natalie, you want to give me a hold on?
In 3, 2, 1, go. Nice, and you have 20 seconds rest.
So I'll wait for 20 seconds, and she's going to give me a 3, 2, 1 when it starts again.
All right, sitting ready. 2, 1, go.
And then so on and so forth for 10 minutes. Like Natalie said, if 10 minutes is too long and you're dying at first, because I know it looks kind of easy, but trust me, it's going to get very hard. If 10 minutes is too long, do 5 minutes for a week. The next minute, go up to 6 minutes. And the next week, go up to 7 minutes, and so on and so forth. When 10 minutes gets too easy, start implementing other exercises that are harder. Okay, that's the way to progress it. Whew, I'm tired, honestly, with one set.
Or even cut the reps as well. These, instead of 8, maybe have it like 6 and then slowly build up to 8. That way you can kind of progress a little bit that way if you already got the movements down, but you don't want to do as many reps.
That's a good point too. That's why she's an intern. Okay, so if you have questions with EMOM set number 1, write them down now, and again, we'll get to them at the end. Natalie's going to show you all EMOM set 2.
Okie dokie. So EMOM number 2, we're using the towel, or valve slides for me, towel for you, a lot with this one. So I'll just go over really quickly what the movements are, and then we'll go into the movements. So EMOM number 2, again, is 4 per leg reverse towel lunges, 4 per leg lateral towel lunges, 4 per leg plank wipers with the towel, and then 4 posterior plank to L-sit. So first movement, reverse towel lunges. So you're just going to use one towel for one foot at a time. So it's just like a regular lunge, but instead of stepping, you're just sliding your foot along the floor, okay? So start out with both feet next to each other, normal stance. What you're going to do is you're going to slide, let's say the left foot, whatever foot's on the towel. Oh, this is my right, sorry. You're going to slide it backwards, keeping that knee directly above that ankle and keeping the back knee directly below the hips. Going to come down, bringing that knee to close to the ground, but don't bounce off the ground. And you're just going to drive the forward foot through the ground, sliding it back up. I'll show you the side view so you can kind of watch. So again, So again, sliding that foot back, keeping those knees in line, and then sliding it back up, keeping that chest nice and high. So back, up.
What's really important is that she has this knee behind this toe. All the weight of her body is in the heel of this front foot. If she could wiggle her toes if she wanted to. So you need to have the weight driving down through that heel, or you're going to cause some patellar tendon issues.
Yeah, so a lot of people tend to kind of go a lot forward, and that back heel comes up. So yeah, making sure that foot is planted on the ground and driving through it. Another huge common fault is people's knees kind of go in and out all over the place, or they're kind of stepping all over the place, making sure everything's staying aligned. So see how my knee is, again, staying in a line. It's not going in, it's not going out, staying perfectly aligned. Okay, reverse towel lunges. Now, lateral towel lunges. Again, one foot's on the towel, and you're just sliding outward instead of backward, okay? So keeping this leg extended, sliding it out, and then bending the foot planted on the ground. Again, keeping that chest nice and high, and trying to keep that knee above that ankle. Drive that foot through the floor, stand up, and then again, coming back down. Just sliding in and out. This is gonna work a lot of your inner thighs, so it's gonna start burning. Making sure that you're really driving through that foot on the ground, and not kind of wobbling all over the place. I can't breathe.
So when she's doing this too, hop back on there, when she goes out to the side, she is keeping her torso on the inside of this leg that's bending. Don't let it fall over this way or over this way.
Go this way.
Okay?
Straight down.
Good.
Okay, now plank wipers with the towel. So this one you're gonna use 2 towels instead of just one. So both feet are gonna be on towels. You're gonna have to move a lot quickly, so keep quicker. So keeping these towels nice and close will help you a lot. So again, you can either be in a high plank or a low one. The low one's gonna be a little bit easier, but from here, you're just gonna bring your leg out to about 90 degrees to your body, and then you're gonna slide it back in, and then alternate legs, and then back in. This is a good core workout, keeping those hips flat, keeping that body flat from head to heels. We wanna make sure that our body's not coming up here, and then we're kind of doing steps. We're keeping that, so you can see this way, we're keeping that flat body and then sliding and come in and out. Anything on those?
No, just really, she's very important to keep the integrity of that spine. I know I'm going to say that, just drill that in your head, that spine stays straight the whole time. And it's going to get some good glute work there too, yeah.
Cool. And a good thing to think about when you're doing like any type of planks, I like to tell people to think about when they're putting like really tight jeans on, how they kind of have to tuck in that belly button to really kind of button them in. That's a good way to kind of keep, when people say keep your core tight and all that stuff, people are like, what does that mean? So thinking about when you put on those tight jeans, that's a good way to kind of think about what keeping things tight means. Okay, now posterior plank into an L-sit. So again, you can either use 2 towels or one, it doesn't really matter, but both feet are gonna be on it. So you're starting, legs extended, heels on the towel, your hands are gonna be right next to your hips. Do it kind of at an angle. So from here, you're just gonna lift your hips off the ground about 1 inch. You're gonna slide your feet forward to where your hips come up and your body's flat. And then you're gonna come back to that starting position in an L kind of form. So this is the L sit, and this is the posterior plank, holding each for about maybe a second, if not less. It's just coming out and then in. This is really gonna work that core and that posterior chain of those, your butt and your legs and stuff.
Another great thing about it is go to your extended position is you're working that shoulder mobility here too. So again, you're good. We threw exercise in here to try to give you the most bang for your buck. So you're getting all this core activation, posterior activation. You're also getting mobility work in the shoulder. So I think when you look at the picture of me doing it on your sheet, I'm not even reaching the same extension that she is because I have really poor shoulder mobility. So this will help free that up as well.
Cool. Anything else on that?
No, ma'am.
Want to do one run through.
So notice when she's going to do this, she's going to keep everything really close to her because, again, you're every minute on the minute, so you want all the stuff nearby. So we'll go through one full circuit and then find her rest and then start again. You ready, sister?
I am.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. 8 on each side, or 4 on each side. Good. Switch. Nice transition. Beautiful. Good. Go to your lateral. Out to the side. Good. You're at 30 seconds. Jeez. Yep, I would just turn over just like that. Do your 4. And you have 7 seconds of rest. So she's going to hop back up, and she's going to start again in 3, 2, 1, go. And then she's right back at it. So good. We can notice how these will be very exhausting. This would be a great one to start at 5 minutes and then build up. That one was definitely meant to be the harder of the two. Okay, with regard to the EMOM sets and with all these things, so we're going to teach you EMOMs, we're going to teach you some Tabatas, we're going to teach you this circuit. Only on one day would you do both the EMOM sets. You wouldn't mix the EMOMs with the Tabatas on one day. You would do EMOM 1 and EMOM 2, and there you go, you're good. If you have minimal time, just do one EMOM, that's fine. But don't start mixing these up together until you start getting them better and better shape. So, EMOM, every minute on the minute, you do the amount of reps for each exercise that was dedicated or correlated to that given exercise. Transition from one to the other with minimal time. Wait for the running clock to stop or to end on that minute and then start over. So that is every minute on. And again, you can do this with your own stuff, with any other exercise. You could do squat jumps, to push-ups, to V-ups, to whatever you want. It's really the sky's the limit. And that's one, again, we really want you to understand the formats. All right, if you have questions with EMOM number 2, make sure to write those down right now, and we will get to those in a little bit. So we're going to put our Val slides away, and we will talk next about Tabatas. One thing that we did miss, though, that I want to talk about is before you do this stuff, you probably should do some sort of warm-up, whatever it is, 2 to 3 minutes or something. My warm-ups are like 30 minutes, but we're talking about fitness anywhere for a small amount of time. So just make sure to get the heart rate up and warm the body up somehow. We didn't want to go over warm-up today because obviously this is taking a little bit of time to talk about each one of these things. But if you go on our Wellbeing Online page, we have workouts of the week that has a warm-up every single day that doesn't require any equipment. It requires a foam roller, but you won't need to do the foam rolling section. There's a section for our squat triangles and I think some lunge matrices and stuff. But if you can get one of these and get it in your office, honestly, it's great to have this stuff in your office. Just like every hour, hop down, do some mobility stuff, do some soft tissue work. It's really good to start breaking that stuff up and opening yourself up. Completely off topic, but if you want to check out a good website to figure out some mobility stuff, go to mobilitywod.com and they'll have stuff that you can just do every hour on the hour that will really help you develop some mobility and all that kind of good stuff. All right, now back on track, we are going to talk about Tabatas. So Tabatas are a type of interval set that was created by a guy named Dr. Tabata. And what it is there's these things called, I don't even want to get into work to rest ratio. Never mind. A Tabata set is going to be something that's going to be 4 minutes of interval training, okay? So whatever exercise it is, if it's a squat, if it's a push-up, if it's high knees in place, if it's a plank, if it's lunges, you have 4 minutes of this exercise where you do 20 seconds of work with 10 seconds of rest. So I would do 20 seconds of squat, followed by 10 seconds of rest, followed by 20 seconds of squat, followed by 10 seconds of rest, followed by 20 seconds of squats, but on and on and on for 4 minutes. So what ends up happening is you have 8 sessions of work, okay? So you'll do whatever exercise that was 8 times for 20 seconds. When you are doing these Tabatas, it's not about doing the squats nice and slow, right? When you're in a Tabata, you're really trying to rip through them because you're trying to do it at 100% capacity. Granted, you're not going to be able to last at 100% capacity the whole time. You'll start learning how to pace yourself, but you want to be to right where you're at your breaking point each time. You want it to be hard. So if you're doing sprints, if you're on a Versa climber, if you're on a bike, you're going as fast as you possibly can to maintain the highest output you can for that 20 seconds and then rest for 10 seconds, okay? And again, that's 4 minutes. So I wrote 3 Tabatas for you guys. So we have squats, planks, and high knees, okay? So we're just gonna go over, again, you would do the squats for 4 minutes, then you would do the plank for 4 minutes, and then you do the high knees for 4 minutes, okay? They're not one right after another. It's squat for a full 4 minutes, and so on. We'll talk about just some basic stuff with our squat form. Can I actually use you? Yes. If you want to face this way. When we start in our squat position, we're going to start with our feet about hip width apart. And what we're not going to kill all the small little nuances of the squat, but basically I'm going to have Natalie squat down to where her femurs get to parallel to the ground. Come on down. So we see her femurs are nice and parallel and she stands back up. Okay, weight is going to squat down, weight's in the heels of her feet. She's got a nice straight back, she's looking forward, femurs parallel to the ground. That's a good squat, okay? So usually we'd always go up to full extension. In a Tabata squat, you're going to be doing them pretty fast to where I'm not caring too much about full extension, okay? So she's just going to go, you're not going to do it, but you would go very fast. That's all I really want to hammer away. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the squat, but we want to make sure that, you know, we push that butt back, come down, and we're really thinking about driving our knees out on the way down and out on the way up. We don't want our knees, show them the world's worst squat. You're super good at showing the world's worst squat. You did this in our Train Smart video, right? We don't want our knees diving in. We want to make sure that they stay over our toes, if not driving out, right? So that chest is up and I'm driving my knees out the whole time. Essentially, everyone knows what high knees are, but when you're doing high knees for Tabatas, you're just doing them in place. You want proper arm swing, so right arm, left leg, and you want those knees to come up high, okay? So each one of those, you would have your squats, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 4 minutes. So what we'll do is we will show just like 2 rounds of a Tabata squat so you all can see what it kind of looks like and just kind of get a feel of what it is. So I just did Tabatas. You know, honestly, like this stuff's great. Like I am with Tabatas every single day in my lifts. Like these things are great finishers. If you are like, you like to work out all the time and stuff, all these things that you can do are great finishers at the end of workouts. So we'll do 2 Tabata sets. She's gonna give me a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and I'll just kind of show you the sequence of time.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Halfway.
Awful.
It's great. And off.
So notice I'm not coming to full extension because this, I'm in that interval, so I'm trying to go fast.
2, 1, go. And rest.
Okay, so we would continue that for 4 minutes, and it really starts to get tiring. Final thing with your Tabatas, there's a thing we got called your Tabata score. Your Tabata score is the least amount of reps you got on one of those 20-second sequences. So if I was like on minute 6, I got 17, and every other time I got 20. Minute 6, it's only 4 minutes. If I'm minute 3, I got 17. And every other time I got 20, my Tabata score is 17. And you try to increase that every single time that you do it. So the same thing would go with planks. You'd hold a plank for 20 seconds, drop to your knees after that, rest for 10 seconds, up and down. There's apps out there that are like Tabata music, Tabata stopwatches. Right, there's Tabata music, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you countdowns and everything. So they're all out there. Again, like with the EMOMs, if it's really, really hard to do 4 minutes, start at 2 minutes and build it up. Most of my clients, If you have a Versa climber at your gym, I highly suggest to try doing Tabatas on a Versa climber. It's one of the best workouts in the world. But all my clients, I start them at 2 minutes, and then each week add on the next 20 seconds until I get to 4 minutes. If you want to get crazy, you can build up to 6 minutes, but 4 minutes is definitely like the prime spot because that's when you can still keep that capacity real high. If you have questions with Tabatas, write them down and we'll touch on them again at the end. Is there anything I'm missing with Tabatas?
Nope.
It's fun to say.
How much rest should they have between movements?
Oh, okay, so I would say if you finish one Tabata set, like you get the 4 minutes in, rest 2 to 3 minutes before going to the next one. Same thing with the EMOMs. Rest 2 to 3 minutes from going from EMOM 1 to EMOM 2. Okay, so you want to recover pretty well. And so we are on the metabolic circuit. And it's on you, sister.
Finishing it out. So the last workout of the day is our little metabolic circuit. So what you're doing is you're doing all of these movements, and then you're getting to rest 30 to 90 seconds, and then you're going to do them all again. We're doing it how many times through?
Start them with 3, and then you'd probably work up to 5 rounds total.
Yeah, since there's so many movements, you only want to do a few rounds since you're getting a lot of work in within a certain amount of time. So we're just going to go into the movements right now. So first is inchworms. You're going to do about 8 to 12 of these depending on how well you are at these. So what you're going to do, you're just going to stand starting upright, reach down, get your hands to the ground, walk your hands out to about a high plank. If you want, you can add in a push-up. If you don't want to, you can just stay in this high plank, and then you're going to walk your hands up, stand up all the way, and then come back down. So you're doing that 8 to 12 times. Once you've done that, anything else for that?
Just so when she touches her toes, go touch your toes. She's going to walk out to her push-up position, and we're going to make sure to what? Keep integrity of the spine. So again, she's got that nice straight back, and she's maintaining all that good positioning, right? Hands are under her shoulders. She's nice and braced and all that good stuff. When she walks it back up, doesn't cause extreme rounding at the spine or anything like that. She keeps the spine straight as best she can in the toe touch. A lot of people are going to argue that a big round back in the toe touch is really bad. It has its downfalls, but in an unloaded position, you're not going to cause the same amount of damage as if you were holding a bar and bending over that way. But still, it's important to try to learn how to keep that back nice and straight as we go down to that toe touch. Sorry.
Very good. All right, the next movement is bear crawls. So he's pretty pro at these, so I don't know why I'm describing them, but I will. So you're going to start out on all fours, toes on the ground, knees on the ground, then hands directly below your shoulders. And you're going to start out in a bit of a staggered position. So you're going to do alternating limbs. So you're going to start out with left forward and right knee forward. And then from here, you're going to lift your knees about an inch off the ground, an inch or 2 off the ground. And we're just going to crawl forward. So keeping your back nice and flat and taking kind of baby steps. You're going to alternate limbs and then just taking steps forward. And then once you've done 4 forward, you can do 4 backwards. Again, alternating limbs, keeping that back nice and flat and that tummy nice and tight. 30 to 60 seconds. Anything else on that one?
Okay, so yeah, definitely a lot with bear crawls. She actually just did a really good job. What everyone is probably like, that's not the bear crawls I did when I was in like high school. Like the butt's not super high. We are doing this for a core workout, and it's a rotary stability and anti-extension workout, okay? So when she's in her bear crawl position, when she's going forward, we're trying to minimize go forward, rotation at the hips, right? We want those hips to stay as square as possible. If I really wanted to get after it, I could put one of these cones on Natalie's back and have her go, and I'm really trying to make sure that that cone doesn't fall off. That's a great way to teach how not to have a bunch of rotation at the hips. Okay, we want to keep the integrity of the spine, so it's a dynamic motion that really helps us train our core, okay? So main concerns with that is to keep your knees an inch from the ground at all times, essentially have your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips with a little bit of deviation with that staggered position, right? And really minimize that rotation at the hips. Going forward 4 and backward 4 for 30 seconds, I promise you is pretty difficult. And then when you get to that 60-second mark, it's definitely very, very hard. You'll start feeling it burning your quads too. I think that's about it with bear crawls. There's a, if you want to watch, I know I always throw these guys out there and stuff, but Mike Boyle's got some great videos on bear crawls on YouTube and stuff.
Cool, bear crawls. Next is the Superman. So you're going to do 8 to 12 of these. I'm sure a lot of you have done these before. Starting laying on your tummy, arms fully extended, legs fully extended. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring your upper body, chest, and arms at the same time off the ground as your legs. So you're coming up, squeezing your lower back and your glutes. Hold it for a second, then come back down simultaneously. So come up and then back down. You're going to feel it really tight in your lower back and in your butt, so that's correct. You shouldn't go too far to where you're really hyperextending, just enough to where you're feeling it getting tight in your lower back and butt. And 8 to 12 of those. Anything else in those? Cool. Supermans. Now we're going into knee high raises. So for this one, you're going to need a chair or a stable surface to step up on. We got a little handy dandy chair to do it on today. So what you're going to do is basically just like box step ups, but you're going to do a knee drive at the same time. So you're going to, again, starting with the knee directly over that ankle, driving the foot through the chair or box, and then driving the knee up and then back down. And you're going to get that alternating arm swing like when you're running or doing high knees as well. So when you come up, alternate arm, and then back down. Up and back down. We're doing these about 8 to 12 each leg, and then we're going to switch sides or switch legs, and then do the same thing all the way down. Again, driving that foot through the box, keeping that knee directly above the ankle, keeping it from going in and out, and then way too far forward.
So yeah, that's a big one that you'll see is she'll get a little bit of a wobble left and right if the box is too high. So if you see that little wobble happen in your knee, just drop the box or step or chair or whatever it is, just down a little bit lower because we want to minimize that from happening.
And a good rule of thumb is to do like a 90-90. Just kind of see how I have a 90 in my knee and then a 90 in my hip. That's about a good height for box or chair or whatever.
No need to go higher.
Yeah, you don't need to go here because that's too high. Yeah, so knee high raises. Good? Cool.
Good. Bueno, keep that out because you're going to do the full circuit.
Yay. Okay, now hollow holds. Starting laying on your back. These ones are a core exercise. So you're going to start laying on your back with your hands above your head, biceps by your ears, feet together, and they're kind of like the Supermans, but you're doing it on your back. So you're going to kind of raise into like a little bit of a moon shape, like a hollow shape. So you're here, and you're just going to come up, keeping that tummy nice and tight, holding this position, keeping those toes pointed towards the sky, and then come back down. You're holding that position for 30 to 60 seconds. And then you're just coming back down and then moving on to the next position. This, you really want to make sure that you're contracting your abs during this. I don't want you to just bring your upper body like this and then your legs up like that. That's not how it is. You keep your shoulders off the ground and your legs off the ground. So the weight should be about your lower back, if not on your butt. Anything else for those? Cool, those are brutal, so be prepared for those. And then glute bridges. So these, you're staying laying on your back, you're just gonna bring your feet in a little bit, and then your hands are just gonna go by your sides, they're not really gonna do anything. Your feet are gonna come close into your bum, not too far tight, not too out, just about like a little bit of a 90-degree angle. And then from here, you're just gonna raise your hips to the sky to where you have a flat body, squeezing your butt nice and tight, and then come back down, making sure those hips coming all the way up to the ceiling before you come back down. And then you're doing about 10 to 15 of those, depending.
So she's really driving from her heel on those glute bridges.
Yes, and the weight is on your shoulders as well, not on your neck or anything.
So she keeps talking about 8 to 12 reps, 30 to 60 seconds. This all just depends on where your current fitness level is at. I always tell myself, even though, I've been training doing X, Y, and Z for 10 years, I respect the workout because you never know how hard something's really going to be. There are certain things that may look easy to you, and when the first time you go through them, even if you're someone like Natalie, they're pretty brutal. So definitely respect the workout first, get a feel for it, okay? So I would always suggest to start at the lower end and then build yourself up. Another important concern with regard to the metabolic circuits is you really want to minimize time from transitioning from one exercise to the next. You want to go inchworms, bear crawls, Superman, knee high raises, hollow holds, glute bridge as fast as you possibly can, and then rest that 30 to 90 seconds, right? And again, that 30 to 90 seconds depends on your current fitness level. The better in shape you are, the further you'll narrow that rest time down. So, anything with that?
I know this doesn't really need to be said, but make sure you go over each of the movements before you actually do the circuit. Don't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do the circuit and then just go through all the movements. Make sure you're actually going through each movement one at a time first before you actually start going hard at it.
Always respect the exercises. Do good form. Doing a bunch of reps on a subpar level is not nearly as beneficial as doing less reps perfectly. Everything should look absolutely beautiful. There's no reason to sacrifice form. In the weight room we say don't lift your ego. It's not the weight you lift, it's how you lift it. So everything needs to be done spot on. And if for some reason you just cannot do it anymore with proper form, that's what we call technical failure. And it's cool. That's where you're done at that point. There's no reason to put your body in a subjective position that's going to hurt yourself just because you want to like work through and keep blasting through. I respect that mentality, but it's going to be a 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. So with all that, I'm going to have Natalie go through the metabolic circuit like 1 1/4 times. So I'll even time how fast it takes her to get all, because I know it seems like a lot of exercises, but you can bang that out pretty fast, honestly. And just do the lower end rep range. And I'll give you the times when it gets to 30 seconds and all that good stuff. So if you were doing this by yourself, you'd probably have a stopwatch by you or your iPhone on you with the clock on it. So you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's do work. So metabolic meltdown. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go. So she's going to do those 8 inchworms, reaching down, touching the toes, keeping as straight of back as possible. Nice push up to where she keeps the back nice and straight and pushes herself up as one unit. Okay? These actually look beautiful, Natalie.
But I lost count. 5.
Let's just call that 6. We'll call it 6. Good, so there's her 8th one. I'd say get right into that bear crawl position. Pop down, and she's forward 4, backward 4 for 30 seconds. Think about it. This is like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. A thing that makes push, and don't do these really, really fast. Do them nice and slow so you get a feel for them. Going backwards may feel a little weird at first. Keep going, I'll tell you when. I'm just explaining things. You want to think about driving through your hands as you're pushing backwards. That makes it a little bit easier. You got 10 seconds left. See, these things are meant to smoke you. May not have any weight involved, but it's pretty hard. All right, on your stomach, you got Supermans for 8. And again, she's not overextending, okay? This is one of the few ones that we're going to let that back go into extension, but she's squeezing her glutes and having the erectors kind of come into play to stabilize that back. Hop up, you got the knee-high raises. 1 foot up, and she's going to do 8 on each side. So we talk about this most bang for our buck. The thing that with this, we could just do knee-high raises like with our hands at our side, but you know, proper arm swing is a good thing to train, okay? A lot of us lose it over time. A lot of us lose our skipping ability, and these basic like motor patterns that we've had as children. And so it's good. If you have the opportunity to do something that's asymmetrical on the body with the arms and the legs, train the arm swing at the same time because it's going to help come back in when you're doing your running gait and all that kind of stuff. Excellent, good job. Then she's going to go to 30 seconds of hollow holds. This is going to be rough. This will even be hard for Natalie. We're going to make her do it too. She's got to do it. You'll see her cheeks will start to shake. If you ever are getting interested in gymnastics or CrossFit, this is definitely something you have to learn how to do because it's going to help you with your muscle ups to be able to get in the proper position. You got 15 seconds, Natalie. How you feel? Good? Yeah?
8.
I'm glad I ate all your trail mix. You got no post-exercise. Almost there. 3, 2, 1. Good. She's going to drop her legs and go into her 10 glute bridges. Again, she's squeezing that butt at the top. She's driving through the heels, and she's making a nice straight line with her body. We love straight lines, okay? A way you can make this a little bit harder is then put the arms across the chest. And if you even wanted to get real weird with it, you could start bridging from one leg. You don't have to show that. But
10.
Good. And then she would rest at this point. That's one round, okay? So she'd rest that 30 to 90 seconds. Let's say it's her first time ever doing it. She's going to rest that 90 seconds, and then she'd repeat 3 to 5 times. So I would suggest the first time doing it to repeat 3 times. If you are still so smoked after that 90 seconds of rest where you feel like you can't do it, just rest a little bit longer. It's fine, and then slowly build that down. So that is our metabolic circuit. And again, you could literally replace all those exercises with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 6 other exercises. Okay, there's certain ways that we structure our exercises, and we kind of talked about that in the Train Smart webinar. I'm not going to go over that now, but just make sure simply just get as much upper and lower body as possible, and as much pushing as pulling, and all that good stuff. If you have questions with regard to the metabolic circuit, write those down now, and we'll get to those here really shortly. Okay, so those are our 3 exercise modalities that we provided you all with for your fitness anywhere kind of stuff. What I want to do now is just a brief review. So we had the EMOMs, okay, that's every minute on the minute. You have, in this EMOM set, you have 4 exercises with their given amount of reps for each exercise. You saw in the second one that it was it took a little bit longer, so you had less of a break, okay? So it's completing all the reps within that minute. If the minute falls over, by the way, you just keep going. You just keep going. There is no rest at that point. You just keep going to try to catch up. As we saw, like she had 7 seconds of rest in that second EMOM, maybe cut the reps in half, like go 2 on each leg for a while till you can start getting done faster, okay? The Tabatas, again, 4-minute interval set of 20 seconds of work followed by 10 seconds of rest for 4 minutes. So that means 8 sessions of work with whatever exercise it is. Again, you have the squats, the planks, and the high knees. You can do it with push-ups. You can do it with squat jumps. You can do it with lunge jump changes. You can do it with literally whatever you want. Again, if you have a Versa climber at your gym, utilize that thing. It's awesome. Or an assault bike. Assault bikes are great for this kind of stuff. Finally, we had the metabolic circuit, which is just a typical circuit training, okay? We're just doing a lot of exercises in a row to be able to really raise that heart rate with a small amount of rest and repeating again for a certain number of rounds. So that kind of concludes our review right there. With all that, this is, again, our last webinar of the 2016-2017 school year. We are not doing any in the summer, but we will be back next fall. We have no idea of what ones we're doing. I'm sure we will look for all your guys' feedback of what you would like to see. Any ideas are definitely warranted. I'm thinking about maybe doing something on basics of warm-ups, because that's a really important thing, technique for certain things. Anything that you guys are interested in, maybe family workouts, whatever it is. If you are all interested in learning about something that can help increase your well-being through physical activity, nutrition, any of that stuff, just let us know, and we'll try to put together something for you all. We have graduation, all you seniors that are graduating here in May. Let's go. I'm proud of you all. I believe, I don't know if you're coming to Pullman to do your graduation, but if you are, Wellbeing will be there. We'll have a table. We'll be doing some activities. Come talk with us. Talk to us about what you like, what you think we could do better. For those of you all returning next year, I will be at Rendezvous, which is in August, correct? Beginning of August is Rendezvous at the Woodland Park Zoo. And we'll have a table there with giveaways. Last year I gave away a bunch of foam rollers and bands and all kinds of good stuff. So if you are a global campus student, please come to Rendezvous. It's actually, we got to play with an armadillo and stuff last time. You get animal encounters, you get free food. It's a good time. And yeah, this has been a pretty fun year. This is my first year taking over the Wellbeing Online department, and it's been a lot of fun. And I like interacting with everybody through the CyberKook Fitness Club program. If you don't know what that is, we have a gym membership reimbursement program if you're a global campus student, where you can get up to $100 refunded on your gym membership if you go through, if you submit a form and go through certain obligations that you have to do. That is due on May 1st, so if you are interested, there's definitely information on Wellbeing Online. And with that, yeah, I'm on for questions.
All right, our first question is a clarification. So is there a minimum amount of time or combination that we should do daily to still tone our muscles, and also how often would you need to do this per week?
Okay, so the question is there a minimum amount of time that someone needs to do these exercises to tone their muscles? And what was the other part?
And then also, how many times per week should you choose one of these?
And then how many times a week should you choose one of these? Okay, so this again, that's a very, very varied question. It just depends on where you're at currently, right? If you are, just getting into things, doing maybe like an EMOM on one day, a Tabata on another day, and then your metabolic circuit on another day, that's going to be pretty good, right? And doing the very lighter side of those things. And that's going to help you definitely get in better shape, build up some cardiovascular capability, and help shape you up a little bit too. If you're in better shape, you could probably start stacking maybe, I know I said not to do this, but if you are in better shape, do the EMOM and a Tabata on one day, or do the Tabata and the metabolic circuit on one day. You can pair these exercises with your typical exercise routine if you do go to a gym, right? If you do go to a gym and you do a whole lifting circuit and you have X, Y, and Z that you do, end with a Tabata. Hop on like a bike or hop on a treadmill and do a Tabata there, and it'll help you out. It's just really, really variable of who the person is with regard to how it will benefit that individual. That's a huge spectrum. Nobody is the same. There is no generalized guidelines to that. But if you do these things hard, I promise you that you will be getting a workout and it will definitely start shaping you up and getting you in shape. I would say do these anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week and you'll be fine. Always give yourself some active, some time to rest and recover. People they underestimate the importance of rest and recovery. It's very good to pair this kind of stuff with typical strength training too. If you have the ability to get to a gym and be able to put together some sort of basic exercise strength routine, that paired with this kind of stuff is going to get you the most optimal outcomes that you can possibly have. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer because I'm not giving you you need to do this 5 times a week for this long a period of time, but just nobody is that way. It's very, very different for each person. So start picking and playing with it. See how hard it is for you. Do it X amount of times per week. Have a good nutrition stuff, and then start seeing if you are losing weight, if you are toning up. If not, maybe increase a little bit. If it's way too hard, but you're still seeing results, maybe back it up a little bit, and you'll still see those results. Again, with all that, if your interest is toning up and losing weight and cutting up, all the workouts in the world are great, but you need to have proper nutrition as well. That's where most of those results are going to come from.
In regards to the Tabata workout, is there an ideal length of time to stay in the plank position?
The question is, in the Tabata workout, is there an ideal duration of time to stay in the plank position? Yes, you're going to stay in the plank position for 20 seconds, and then you will literally be in the plank position, so 18, 19, 20, rest for 10 seconds. So 27, 28, 29, 30, hop back up for 20 more seconds, and then it's 47, 48, 49, 50, back down for 10 seconds, and then just keep doing that for 4 minutes. So again, in any Tabata, whatever the exercise is, if it's knee-high raises, if it's push-ups, if it's a squat, you're doing the exercise for 20 seconds.
Due to some old chronic pain, I can't do as many repetitions. Do these workouts give the same benefits with less repetitions?
So the question was, due to chronic pain, the individual is not going to be able to do the same amount of repetitions in these amount of times. Would it have the same benefit with less repetitions? What's important about these workouts is not necessarily the repetitions per se, it's how high you get the heart rate. What we're trying to do is get you almost at your maximum heart rate or even a little bit above it for a certain amount of time and then have you rest for a certain amount of time, right? So what we're doing is we're training at this thing that's called your ventilatory threshold or your blood lactate threshold, okay? If you're able to get there with a less amount of reps and still get that heart rate raised real high, then these workouts will definitely be beneficial for you. However, with chronic pain and stuff like that, some of these I would kind of more err on the safe side and do a little bit more slow duration stuff, kind of start building yourself up a little bit more before you hop in these high intensity workouts. So these are considered high intensity, okay? So it's interval training, it's going very, very hard. With chronic pain, I would probably look into a little bit different style of exercise modalities to where you can get a good fitness base first and then start throwing this stuff in here. Maybe instead of doing it like squats or something like that, do your Tabatas on a bike. Get on a spin bike and hop on there and do it where it's a little bit less impact on there. Again, you could do Tabatas with any exercise you want. If the chronic pain is in your knees or in joints or something like that, do something that has just a little bit less impact that you can do it. But if you have a heart rate monitor, you will feel it. All you're trying to do is really up your heart rate really high and then rest for a certain amount of time and have it kind of come down and then shoot it up again. We're trying to cause this huge wave because it really tricks the body into expending more calories in a smaller duration of time and actually keep the calories expended for a longer period of time after the exercise ceases as well. So it definitely plays more on where your heart rate is at than the reps. So if 4 reps got you at 190 beats per minute, then cool. But if 4 reps got you at 120 beats per minute, you won't be getting the same benefit.
In regards to doing hollow holds, do you recommend any ways to keep the neck safe during those exercises?
I'm gonna leave this one to you. Repeat the question. So the question was, in hollow holds, is there a way to, was it protect the neck? So, because what's going to happen in the hollow holds is you're really coming forward and like grinding that neck forward. Is there a way to keep it nice and straight? So you do more hollow holds than me, so.
So just thinking about just keeping the neck relaxed and reaching the hands higher when you're in the hollow position. That's going to keep you from trying to crank your neck up to keep you in that position. Reaching higher is going to help you kind of translate that into your core being kind of flexed. So just trying to keep from looking up or looking down, just kind of keep a neutral neck where it's kind of loose and regular.
Do you ever cue giving the double chin to hold a straight neck or no?
I don't, but that's a good cue.
Okay. One thing that we do a lot of times, turn to the side, when we talk about trying to keep a neutral spine is giving yourself this double chin, so scooting the chin back because it keeps the neck straight and stuff. I don't know if that's actually going to work in a hollow hold because you're so strenuous, right? And there's so much going on. But that's one way, like if I have somebody coming up to a wall, which I don't have a wall to, and I want them doing like raises or something, I have them give themselves a double chin and try to maintain that position because it has everything, that ear stay over the shoulder and everything stays in a straight line, right? If your neck is probably starting to hurt with the hollow holds, I would probably regress to something like a V-sit, which is where you're going to keep your feet down, toes up, keep the chest up, and lean back and flex those abs and maintain this position, and then slowly get farther and farther and farther. Again, integrity for the spine, and then sooner or later, you'll be able to come to, I'm not even good at hollow holds, right? Ooh.
Our next question is, my next question is, which workout targets the upper thighs best?
So the question is, which workout targets the upper thighs best? You think the bear crawls targets? I guess.
Bear crawls or reverse lunges.
Yeah, I'd say.
Posterior plank to L-sit. Those work your quads.
Yeah, so a lot of the lower body exercise, don't think about like, I need to work my upper pec, or I need to work. If you're working a muscle, you're working the whole thing. Honestly, if you're working a movement, everything's working at the same time. You may feel a little bit more in certain areas, but everything's still being worked. You're having certain like motor units that are activating that engages the entire muscle. So it's all working together. But you'll feel it the most definitely in the bear crawls. I know that seems counterintuitive, but your quads start to burn pretty good in the bear crawls. Definitely in the posterior plank to L-sit, you'll feel that a lot in the core as well. But I mean, you're gonna get most for your quads, like on the step ups, the squats, the reverse lunges, anything lower body, really, honestly.
And can you better explain what you mean by the lower end when you start a workout?
The lower end. Okay, so the question is, what do you mean by starting the lower end of a workout? So we don't have it written up here, but on your sheets that were sent out, it may say, so if you look at the metabolic circuit, it'll say inchworms are 8 to 12 reps. The bear crawls are 30 to 60 seconds. The Supermans are 8 to 12 reps. The lower end would be 8 reps. The higher end would be 12 reps for inchworms. The lower end of bear crawls would be 30 seconds, and the higher end would be 60 seconds. So that's it when you're looking at it with regard to the exercises themselves and their rep or the rep scheme. Then you can look at it with the rest scheme. So if the metabolic circuit, you completed all 6 exercises, you have 30 to 90 seconds of rest. 30 seconds would be the higher end, and 90 seconds would be the lower end, because more rest would make it easier. So what it means by low end to high end is the low end is anything that's going to reduce the intensity or make the exercises or the routine a little bit easier.
What is an alternative for push-ups if you have wrist issues?
Okay, so if you have wrist issues, an alternative for push-ups, you can get push-up handles. Okay, and that can help turn them in so the wrist stays straight the entire time. Usually the problem is coming back and being on the hands like this. I would suggest to try to get that mobility, okay? So it should not be painful to be in this position, okay? What that means a lot of the time is that you're not engaging the muscles in your body to cause the support to maintain that position, and rather you're just putting all the weight on the wrist. So when I'm in this position, I am engaging my lats, my abs are tight, and if everything is like contracted and I'm maintaining a good solid base, it should relieve the pressure off the wrists. But if you just cannot get past, you know, having those wrist issues, yeah, getting some push-up handles where it keeps it straight. You could do dumbbell presses, like dumbbell chest presses. If you, again, I guess we're trying to think of fitness anywhere, so you're not going to be in a gym. But any sort of pressing action, you could hold the plank position. Again, honestly, that's a good regression because at least you're getting something there. What do you got?
Using a chair or a box can help too.
Yeah, so
Just
usually when
putting
you
hands.
regress for a push-up, you have you do push-ups like on a chair or something because it keeps the body, it brings the body up, and then you're kind of pushing from this hand motion instead of like being super in an extended position, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and so it seems like a lot of females, like the wrists really start to hurt. I would highly suggest that you try to strengthen the best you can by learning how to engage the stabilizers of your body to be able to take the resistance off your wrists. There's these things called parallel bars, which I've noticed with my clients. Again, it's essentially like, and then they're not near this high by any means, but it turns the hands like this, okay? So you can do that with dumbbells or something like that too. But yeah, dumbbell, if you are at a gym, pressing dumbbells, chest presses, bench presses, using bands on a wall or anything like that will still help. Just think of anything that's causing resistance here as you're pushing will help substitute that.
Okay. And how long on average should you spend on a circuit similar to the one on the board?
The metabolic circuit one. So the question is, how long on average should you spend? Well, if it's, it just really depends, right? What if the circuit consisted of 6 exercises that were supposed to be 30 seconds apiece? Then it should be that long. It's just really variable. What I would suggest to do in that case is do the circuit one time and collect your time and figure out how long it took you and work hard for it, right? And that's where you're at that point. And then, okay, try to decrease that time. There really is no like, you should be able to do 6 exercises in 90 seconds. I don't have that answer. It's not really what concerns me. What concerns me is that you're actually getting a workout. But if you're doing it where it takes like 15 minutes and you're just, you know, kind of slacking from one to the next, you're not getting a good workout, then you're not really doing it. You're not doing what it's meant to do. So it's more important to think of get the reps in, get them in right, and minimize the time in between each exercise, but still be able to maintain proper form with each exercise. Again, I realize that's a cop-out question, cop-out answer, but there really is no said time that is good. That's why we do like doing the EMOM stuff though, right? Because the every minute on the minute gives you this time cap. But if you do something and it takes you 2 minutes and it was really hard, cool, try to decrease that. But if you do something and it takes you 2 minutes and it was really easy, okay, time to pick it up.
Our final question is, do you have any other recommendations for Tabata apps?
The final question is, do I have any other recommendations for Tabata apps? In all honesty, I don't use the Tabata apps. I just know about them because our group fitness classes have them here. They do Tabata classes and stuff. I always just have the clock next to me, like my stopwatch, or if I'm using the Versa Climber, there's the clock right there, and I just go 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. I know if you go on like your iPhone and go to the app section and type in Tabata, there's going to be tons. And there's ones that have like music to it, where like the music literally picks up when you're doing the interval and then it slows down when you're not, so you know to do it, or it gives you like beeps when it goes down. What is the one stopwatch thing that was called? Everyone used it back in the day. It had, I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you could just Google Tabata apps and there'll be ones out there. Again, I have my own music playing in my headphones and I just use the stopwatch. Okay, so that's all the questions for today. I'm sorry that this took a little bit longer than I thought, but it was important to show all the proper movements and things like that. I'd like to thank you all for coming and joining me and having me be part of Wellbeing and Global Connections this year. We'll miss Natalie. I think she did a great job today, and she has a really, really, really bright future ahead of her, and I don't know how I'm going to teach my next intern to do what she does. So thank you all, and that's it for today, and now you know how to be fit anywhere.